everyone, this is Bentley from Kent, Washington. Before we kick into some of the video here and walk you through the last few tanks in my house, which if for some reason you just clicked on this without reading the title, we're going to do part 3 of the fish room tour, fish house tour, fish crib tour. I've had all sorts of suggestions in the comments, but I have a few tanks that are outside of my two primary, I guess you'd say, fish rooms. So we're going to tour a couple of those real fast and just see what I'm doing in there. I've got two that are here in my bedroom, including Tails right here behind me and his tank. And then I have 3 in my living room, which I have to do different voiceovers for that than I was doing with the previous ones where I was recording as I was moving through the tanks, just because it's a little louder in there. Um, like my girlfriend's cats, TV, all that kind of stuff, making all sorts of noise. And I was doing some of my recording literally like during a program on TV that my girlfriend likes to watch. So it was like trying not to interrupt her, but getting my recording done. So um, you'll have a slightly different voiceover for that than me kind of running and talking while I'm actually doing the filming. So if it feels a little different, that's why. The big thing for you guys is just a huge thank you. There's been a huge I guess you say not viral, but just viewership of the fish room tour so far. A lot more than my normal videos. So thank you guys who've been watching. I'm glad that it's getting some interest and lots of awesome comments. You guys have been super awesome. So thank you for that. And then second, if you are a newer subscriber, I've picked up quite a few just as we started the fish room tours. Pay attention to the community tab. I put up polls there. It lets you directly influence which videos are coming to you first. Usually I have a couple of ideas in my head as to what I want to do going forward. And I just let you guys pick which one I'm going to do immediately and which ones get, kind of set aside and like, yeah, I'm going to do these eventually, but not immediately because I'm going to do my best to let you guys have control kind of what you want to see. So I have a poll currently up. I'll probably close it out this today, basically later today as you're watching this on Saturday morning um, when this video releases. But basically my goal is to let you guys have a lot of control over what you get to see uh, sooner, as opposed to like, here's my list of projects, they'll come out when they come out, versus just like, here's the list of things that um, I'm either working on or am ready to film, and just kind of which one do you guys want to see. Overwhelming majority in the 2 polls I've done so far. There's been a really strong majority on what you guys have wanted to see, so it makes it real cut and dry. It's not like a, 40% of you want to see this, 39% want to see this, where it's real close. It's been very distinct what you guys have wanted to see over anything else on the list. So thank you very much for those of you who have been interacting there. Your comments have all been wonderful. Again, thank you so much. So as I mentioned, these tanks are spread in 2 other rooms in my house. And my eventual goal is to like convert my garage into a true like singular big fish room. I have about a 2.5 car garage or so. It's technically 2 car, but it's pretty long, so it's got a lot of room to do quite a lot inside that thing. But it's just a matter of one, getting a bunch of family storage that is in as my house has been used for. My garage is basically like storage for my mom, which, being a good son, storing stuff for my mom because I love my mom. But there's some other stuff in there for like my brother or my dad and things like that, that just have been in my house, and there hasn't either A, been time or B, room where those family members are living in order to move those things out. So I'm kind of predicated on doing that. Both, the financials. Building a fish room is not cheap. There's a lot of electrical and plumbing that has to get run to do it right. But I've already done some kind of minor consulting with my personal king of DIY, which is Corvus Oscen, or Joel, for those of you who watch Joel's streams. He's a contractor. He does all sorts of construction work all the time. He's done amazing work on Corey's studio for the Aquarium Co-op. He was over here, I think, like 3 or 4 months ago, when he did some of his tours. He's been to my house a couple of times now, and I just kind of like had him check it out and was like, what do you think? How long do you think it'll take? What are we looking at budget wise? And he gave me some pointers and some tips of like things to consider as far as trying to put my budgets together and just think about what I want long term. So whenever I do get to that point, when I can get stuff out of there and get it to their respective owners inside my family, that'll be a project you guys will definitely get to see. And more than likely, I'll probably actually have Joel helping me with a lot of that work. So that'll be really awesome because you'll get to see another local to Seattle. Technically, he's in Tacoma, but the greater Seattle area, another Seattle local YouTuber who's does phenomenal streams all the time. Like I love watching Joel. He's one of the ones where of all the YouTubers that are out there, and there's a lot of awesome people in the fish fam who do great content. Joel gets a lot of my attention. So most of you probably actually know me through Joel's live chats and have happened upon my channel afterward. Which for those of you who have come that way, thank you very much. So let's get in. Let's check out some of those tanks, and then we'll wrap up with a few extra things. So this is the first of my tanks in my living room, and this is a 40 breeder that sits on the top of this rack. This tank used to house all of the baby crebensis. Now it only houses like 4 dither fish and just a ton of crypts, as you can see. This will be getting torn down here soon, and you can see this field of crypts I actually started with only, I think, like 10 little plants and a couple of aphanis, and now it's that big field. There's some Hygrophila polysperma, but if you look here, you can see this kind of bubble up that's happening in the sealant in the corner there. This is why I'm taking that tank down. It's just needs to get resealed, and I don't want to have it blow up on me randomly, so I'm going to be proactive about it. Then below it are these 2 kind of custom-built tanks. They're about 15 gallons a piece. You're used to these from the fry room. This is what all the baby rainbows are in. On the right-hand side is where the Bowmani are, so it's Bowmani, Ron Bowman. They're really shy whenever I bring a camera over. They're hiding. We're not going to focus on them. And then the left tank, this is an unheated system, and you can see I've got a ton of algae in this thing, and I don't really take a lot of care of it. That's because it's a shrimp tank. I want these guys to have all the algae in the world to graze on. So the glass, there's hair algae in some of the plants, mostly in the Sawasser tank. I just let them have it because it gives them grazing ground. It means I only really need to feed them about once a week. And I use like some shrimp keyed food and some Hikari shrimp food. Sometimes I give them live brine or a little bit of flake. But this is a really low maintenance thing. There's actually a lot of shrimp in this thing. I've got some extra footage that we'll show in another video where you guys can see just how many shrimp are actually swimming around in this if we look at it a little closer. But these are the tanks in my living room. Nothing really too crazy. That 40 breeder is going to come down, get replaced with some other tanks. And as I do that, you guys will get to see the updates on that. But this is pretty simple. Then we'll jump up to my bedroom. So you guys have seen this 20 long before. It's pretty simple. There's a bunch of crypts, a purple night sword. Another purple night sword is going to come into this probably this weekend. And then some Vallisneria that's growing out. But more importantly, what you haven't seen, swimming in with these platies and some random endlers that have just been mutts that I've kind of been breeding, you will see some little baby rainbows. These are Melanotaenia Boesemani from Uter that came from Gary Lange. So there's 5 or 6, I think it's 5 that are in there. Young juveniles, just from looking at them, I can't really sex them yet. I'm pretty confident in looking at them, though. There's probably at least a male and a female that'll get me to breed them. There's some more within other members of the club, so definitely we're going to do some trades. If somebody ends up with like all females or all males, we'll trade them and make sure that they have everything they need. These crypts have been slowly growing out. The sword's just doing what it does. This is a pretty low maintenance tank. It has a Fluval 2.0 light on it on a 20 long, but I dial it down. I have it dialed up for this video just so you don't get the weird flicker that happens with the 2.0s. When they're not at full power. But this tank just really gets fertilized like once a week. It's all pretty low maintenance, easy plants. There's some Echo Complete with a little bit of Seachem Fluorite as the substrate, a sponge filter, and then there's a Fluval 206, a heater, real bare bones. This is a very simple tank. It's kind of got replanted and is growing back from a massive crypt melt. Nothing too crazy about this thing. Eventually, like the platies and guppies will leave, but the rainbows are less shy and more social with the extra fish in there. So I'm keeping them in there for a while until the rainbows get bigger. Once they're bigger, all those extra fish will come out, and then these will just be just for those rainbows. The Uters stay a little bit smaller than most Boesemani, so just a 20 long for like 5 fish is perfectly fine. It'll be an easy system to breed them in. The other tank in my room is the tank that features my twin tail betta, Tails. That is a 15-gallon fluval flex. As you can see here, and you'll notice Tails is hiding. He loves, loves, loves being a lazy butt and hiding in the crypts. And I was trying everything I could, like I'd like wave my finger in front of him and stuff like that, and he listens. Like I can sit there and kind of call to him, and eventually he comes out. But it's a pretty simple tank. There's a ton of crypts in here. There's Wendetii tropica, green gecko. There's lutea, green hobbit in here. There's two reticulated SAEs, which is here's one. The other one's just a little bit above that. There's two, as you can see, autosynclists that are just fat as can be. You'll notice the glass has got a bunch of algae on it. I'd leave it like that on purpose. I know it's not the prettiest thing in the world, and there's some watermarks from my last water change. That's just so that the algae grazers in there have plenty of food and the snails have food. It's done on purpose. I know it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it just makes sure that everything has food. There's some other like really rare crypts in here. There's some Cryptocarine costata, which is not very common. It's on the far right-hand side. There's some tropicas, some bronzes that are a little more common. Parvas. The lutea green hobbit is actually pretty rare, and that's toward the left-hand side in the back. It's without me like putting my hand in and pointing and stuff. It's kind of hard to identify, but this is really just kind of a mixed jungle of crypts. This was something very, very simple. This is just literally everything that's in the Fluval Flex plus a heater. Nothing special, just some substrate, which is just Echo Complete, and a little bit of crushed coral to buffer it up. And then as you can see, Tails is finally poking himself out of the back, deciding, I guess I can stop being lazy. The human's here. I like interacting with the human. You see me like I'm sitting there the whole time. You don't hear this because I have a fan on in my room and it made the audio really bad. But I was sitting there. I was like, "Come on, buddy, come be on camera, come show off." Because he's one of the few betas I've ever owned. As far as like a common beta, he's not a show beta by any means. That really holds his fins open a lot when he's out and not being lazy. And you can see here when he's swimming around, like even in the trying to hide from the flow a little bit, he's got his fins pretty open. And he always does this. He's just kind of always got his fins on display. At least, the back tail and the bottom fins always be splayed pretty wide. And when he's got room and he's not at the top of the water, he'll splay everything out. He's just a beautiful little fish. I bought him relatively young, so he just looked kind of gray and red. And slowly, you'll see as he gets closer, there's some blue that's coming on him in little bitty streaks that's real beautiful. And he has this kind of subtle crosshatch pattern on his body from his scales that like it's kind of gray with like black cross hatching. Just really cool looking for a basic generic beta. He cost me like $7. He was not an expensive fish, but you know what? Sometimes the cheap fish are the ones that you fall in love with the most. And this used to have a bunch of sunset guppies in it. I gave them away to a friend who then was putting together a tank for her. I think it's like her cousin's daughter or something like that. But it went to a little girl who got to have a bunch of beautiful sunset guppies. And I was like, yeah, I'll give you all the sunset guppies that are in this tank, which was like 30. It'll make this 29-gallon tank amazing. And then that left just Tails on his own. And now he's right back to being kind of a lazy guy. He's a betta. They do that, right? They just kind of flop, do whatever they want. But you can see those beautiful kind of tealy blue colors in him and that crosshatch pattern. He's a super personable fish, and for a twin tail, he's kind of got that crowned scallop pattern too, which is really awesome. But that's it, guys. Not a lot of tanks that aren't in the two major fish rooms, only these 5. That might change over time, and of course, if they do change, you guys will get to see what I'm doing. You guys are going to see all the projects I'm working on. So let's go ahead and bounce back to my smiling face and say goodbye to Tails. Bye, my little buddy. We'll see you later. So as you can see, it's not a lot of tanks that aren't inside those 2 fish rooms. It's just the 5, and for the most part, they're smaller tanks. Now that 40 breeder definitely has to come down. You guys saw that if we were looking at the silicone, right? Here's the edge of the tank, and you got the silicone bubbling out like this in that corner. And there's actually a similar one a little higher up on the tank across the way on the back corner, the opposite side of the tank. So definitely some silicone that's just seen some better days, took a little damage. Needs to get replaced. The work is not that hard, but it's just not worth risking letting that tank sit there because it's holding water just fine now, but who knows for how long. So that tank has to come down. I think I'm going to put like a pair of 20 longs there instead. It kind of depends. I don't have my other option is I do have a spare 40 long, which is a pretty sweet tank. So maybe tell me down in the comments, what should I put up? Two 20 longs or 140 long, and then I probably have a little wiggle room for like a 10, or maybe it'll just be spare equipment. Just because, as you can see from just kind of the side of the storage by that 40 breeder, I do store like some food and some stuff there. That way, it's out of the way, away from the cats, and not also on a random shelf in my living room, so that it's taking up more space than it needs to. My fish take up quite a lot of space in my house as is. So let me down in the comments. What do you think? 40 long, which is a really cool tank. If you've never seen a 40 long, it's basically just a slightly bigger 33 long, still a 4 foot long tank, 40 gallons, just means it's a little deeper and a touch taller. They're really, really sweet tanks. Very, very hard to find though. Or should I put in like a pair of 20 longs? So let me know that in the comments. I'll let you guys decide. You can decide what tank or tanks I put up in place of that 40 breeder. All those crypts are probably going to go. I'm going to try again to get some kind of carpet in the big community rainbow tank. They have ripped up Stargine Rippins, the Blixa japonica. What else have I put in there? Calanthium quadricostatus. They've ripped up. Uh, Man, I have to think. They've ripped up like four different carpets because they just like the second I put stuff in there, and like it's partially the bristlenose that's in there. She likes to zip around underneath the big piece of wood that's there, and when she wants to come out, she'll be bashing a lot of those things up. When they're fresh planted, the rainbows go down, they spar in it, they want to try and spawn in it. They're picking at it for food. The SAEs pick at it, and it's just kind of hard for it to stand a chance. Now, all those crypts are a lot more established. They have much better root systems. Most of the other stuff I've been putting in there is like pot fresh or trimmings from folks, so not as much of a root system, a lot harder for it to really hold itself down against some big adult rainbows. So a lot of those crypts are probably going to go there, and I'm gonna hope that finally they'll let something stay there because it drives me crazy having a front that's basically just bare and knowing like it's perfectly good substrate for plants and there's nothing there. It drives me crazy. But I'll figure out something eventually. Eventually, I'll crack the code, and those rainbows won't pull it up. And I'm hoping those crypts can do it because, as you guys saw, like, yeah, the glass is dirty, but the crypts are in great health. There's like one or two that had some blackbeard algae on it, but I'll just treat them ahead of time before I put them in the tank. It's pretty easy to do a simple like peroxide dip or a bleach Blix mixture. Woo. English is hard late at night, guys, as I record this, but um, did like a peroxide dip or just like a bleach and water dip to kill off anything before I move it from tank to tank. And then, of course, you go in a nice, clean, dechlorinated water and extra dechlorinator to help get rid of stuff. Shake it, move it around, give it a nice rinse. Go into another clean bucket of fresh water, rinse it one more time. Be safe. Always be safe with your plants. You don't want to risk hurting your fish, but look at doing that. You guys, of course, I'll show you updates on that kind of stuff. So let me know in the comments which tank should go in that spot. Should it be the 220 longs or the 40 long? And with the 40 long, I might be able to fit like a 10, and that 10 would probably be like some spare shrimp. So what I might do is like take some of the best shrimp and try to keep that tank a little cleaner, instead of just like this amazing grazing ground for those shrimp where I can just fire and forget, leave them and let them breed because they've been breeding and there's lots of little shrimpies in there and it's great. Every time I get down and I'm laying down in that tank because it is low to the ground and I'm looking at it, I see all these teeny tiny Lucas Bretz blue dreams because that's what those that's that's what the shrimp are. Wow, it is late and I am tired. I'm sorry, this kind of rambling toward the end here, guys, but tell me down in the comments, let me know what you would rather see. I'm not gonna lie, I think the 40 long would be pretty cool. It's a rarer tank, so it gives you guys an opportunity to see something that's not very common. It's a 4 foot tank, and I have some spare 4 foot Fluval 3.0, so I can really just barrage that thing with light. I might not go quite that hardcore. That's a strong light for a 40 long. It's not a very big tank. But we could do some interesting experiments with that if we did. Or we could, very much if we do the 40 long, we could take all those crypts and put them in the 40 long I do have a bunch of spare substrate that I picked up both from some auctions, and I had some extra stuff I ordered in to get prepped for the acrylics. Those acrylics are coming. It's just a matter of arranging some time with some friends that I mentioned earlier, and getting some stands and stuff built in order to get them in there to replace some of the other tanks in the display room to just get bigger, cooler display tanks. Let's be honest. I love big tanks because I'm a rainbow fish guy, and rainbow fish love big tanks. Pretty simple stuff. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, comment down below. Let me know. This is a vote. This video letter gets to just to decide. Um, the fish are kind of predetermined as to what's going to go in there, so we won't be determining the fish. If we do the 10 on top of the 40 long, we'll put some shrimp in that thing. That will do. But let me know what you'd rather see, and then of course don't forget the 1,500 subscriber giveaway is still going until Christmas Day 2018. So end of Christmas Day 2018. It's going to be down below. It's going to be in the end card. Enter. There's lots of ways. 2 awesome prizes: an Amazon gift card, an API freshwater test kit. Nothing is better than free stuff, right, guys? That's just my little thank you to you guys. As always, thank you so much for watching, and stay awesome.